Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Arirang News on this Friday, October 21st. We begin with the South Korea-U.S. defense talks that took place in the U.S. Capitol on Thursday local time. The two allies have agreed to look into additional ways to strengthen Washington's deterrence measures against North Korea's missile and nuclear threats. Driving their talks is the prospect of deploying U.S. strategic military assets permanently and on a rotational basis to the South. Kim Hyun-bin is in Washington, D.C. with more.
This year's Security Consultative meeting at the Pentagon focused on expanding the Allies' extended deterrence to counter North Korea's growing nuclear and missile threats. Sitting down with South Korea's Defense Minister Han Min-koo, U.S. Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter said the U.S. will use the full spectrum of its defense capabilities to defend South Korea. He added that Washington is changing the structure of its forces on the peninsula to meet that end.
We're adapting our force structure on the peninsula, most recently by agreeing as allies to deploy THAAD to defend against North Korean missile threats. And that's why we're ensuring we remain ready to, as we say, fight tonight. And we're working together to achieve a conditions-based transfer of wartime operational control.
Mr. Han said the upgraded U.S. commitment offered by Secretary Carter will ensure South Korea can defeat any attack, including a potential nuclear attack by North Korea.
We discussed numerous measures of extended deterrence to better counter Pyongyang's nuclear and WMD threats. We're going to double our citizens' trust in extended deterrence.
The two defense chiefs are considering the permanent deployment of U.S. strategic assets to the Korean peninsula on a rotational basis to strengthen extended deterrence against North Korea's threats. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News, Washington, D.C.
At a ceremony marking Korea's 71st Police Day, President Park Geun-hye stressed that law and order are the basis for sustainable national innovation to overcome outstanding crises on the security and economic fronts. Listen.
우리가 현재의 위기를 극복하고 지속 가능한 국가 혁신을 이루어내려면 무엇보다 우리 사회의 법질서가 바로 서야만 합니다. 법질서가 무너지면 사회적 약자들이 가장 먼저 가장 큰 피해를 당하고 불법과 무질서가 용인되는 사회에는 발전도 희망도 미래도 없습니다.
President Park didn't forget to express appreciation for the sacrifices of the country's police force in protecting the public. She also asked them to take a greater role in countering the rising terror threats, both from North Korea and elsewhere, and in disaster management, citing the recent earthquakes that shook the southeast. It's the final day of the National Assembly's month-long audit. Last but not least, in the hot seat are the Presidential Secretary's Office, the National Security Council, and the Presidential Security Service. However, the bulk of the session is being taken up by one issue: the no-show by President Park's under-fire Senior Secretary for Civil Affairs, Woo Byung-woo. The opposition parties had been demanding he come to answer questions about corruption allegations. Saenuri Party floor leader Chung Jin-seok has urged Woo to appear by 4:30 p.m. at the latest and said he'll be held responsible by Parliament if he doesn't show up. The president's aide has been mired in various allegations, including suspicious real estate deals regarding his wife's family and special favors given to his son regarding his military service. Japan has taken another step to try and revise the screening process for UNESCO's Memory of the World Register, a repository for historically significant documentary materials. According to Japanese daily Sankei Shimbun on Friday, Tokyo's Foreign Minister Fumio Kishida said the day before the Japanese government is urging the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization to change the screening process for its heritage program by April of next year. He said the decision about which historical documents should be preserved should consider the opinions of of all related parties, but currently does not. Japan is also withholding its annual financial contribution to the organization. Tokyo's actions are seen as an attempt to prevent records on Japan's wartime sexual enslavement of women, most of them Korean, from becoming a part of the list. Russian airstrikes on the Syrian city of Aleppo will remain on hold for an extra 24 hours until Friday evening local time. The ceasefire was ordered by Russian President Vladimir Putin to give civilians more time to leave rebel-held districts through 8 corridors. The move comes amid growing calls from the international community for a pause in the fighting to allow humanitarian aid to enter the city. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon says nearly 500 people have been killed and 2,000 injured in Aleppo over the past month. Food rations are also set to be running low. Addressing the ongoing conflict, EU leaders are considering further sanctions on Russia for its air assistance to the Assad regime. And that brings us to the end of this edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. Business Daily is next.